The massive shape drifted silently through the dark void of space, spinning slowly as tiny bits of space dust bounced off its scared hull. The ship looked dead, just another piece of space junk left over from humanity's early days of space travel. But Captain James Miller couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about this one. Standing at the main viewport of his scout ship Wanderer *, Miller sipped his coffee and studied the strange vessel through tired eyes. His crew had been tracking it for 3 days now, following its lazy tumble through this empty sector of space. Most derelict ships they found were easy to identify: old cargo haulers, broken-down colony ships, or abandoned mining vessels. But this one didn't match anything in their database. Still staring at our mystery ship, Captain. First Officer Lisa Thompson walked onto the bridge, carrying her own steaming cup. She had dark circles under her eyes from the long hours they'd spent analyzing the vessel. The engineering team just finished another scan. Still no clear power readings, but Tom swears the numbers don't add up right. Miller nodded slowly. Something's off about this one, Lisa. Look at the hull design. Those aren't normal impact patterns from space debris. He pointed to the strange markings that covered the ship's surface. See how they form those odd geometric patterns? Almost like they're meant to be there. Thompson finished his thought. I noticed that too. And the ship's shape isn't quite right for something from the pre-colonial era, even though that's what our computer says it must be. The strange ship was massive, nearly 2 kilometers long, with a hull that seemed to drink in the light rather than reflect it. Most ships had clear markings, company logos, or at least identification numbers. This one was completely bare, its surface a dull gray that seemed to shift and change depending on how you looked at it. Miller set down his coffee and pulled up the latest scan results on his tablet. Look at these energy readings. They're too regular for a dead ship. It's like it's breathing. He showed Thompson the pattern. Tiny fluctuations in the background radiation around the vessel that pulsed with an almost organic rhythm. Could be damaged sensors, Thompson suggested, but she didn't sound convinced. We've been out here a long time, Captain. Maybe we're seeing patterns that aren't there. Miller shook his head. 20 years I've been flying scout missions, Lisa. Found hundreds of derelicts. Never seen anything like this. He tapped a few commands into his console, bringing up a comparison with other abandoned ships they'd found in this sector. All the others were obvious. Battle damage, system failures, or just old age. This one looks deliberately abandoned. Too perfect. The bridge door slid open again as Robert White, their chief engineer, hurried in. His usually neat uniform was wrinkled, and his gray hair stuck up at odd angles. Captain, you need to see this. He was practically bouncing with excitement as he connected his tablet to the main display. We just finished a deep layer scan of the hull composition. Well, look. The screen filled with complex molecular diagrams that meant little to Miller, but White was already explaining. The outer layer isn't just metal. It's some kind of programmable matter. Nanomaterials that can change their properties. We've been trying to develop this technology for decades, but this, he gestured at the screen, this is centuries ahead of anything we can do. Thompson leaned forward, studying the diagrams. Are you saying that ship can change its shape? Not just its shape, White replied. Its entire physical structure. Density, hardness, electromagnetic properties. Everything. And look at this. He pulled up another scan. There are power systems running through the whole thing, but they're folded somehow. Hidden in layers of space we can barely detect. It's not dead at all. It's just hiding. Miller felt a chill run down his spine. A ship that could hide its true nature, that had technology centuries beyond their own. How old did you say this ship was, Robert? White shrugged. Based on the surface analysis, at least 500 years. But that's impossible. Nothing from that era had technology even close to this. Unless, Miller stared at the derelict, his mind racing. Unless it was meant to wait. To sleep until it was needed. He turned to Thompson. Lisa, get me everything we have on the lost colonies. Specifically, any mentions of ships that disappeared during the Dark Age. Thompson's eyes widened. You think this might be connected to the colony wars. But those records were mostly destroyed. All we know is that humanity nearly wiped itself out, and when it was over, dozens of colonies had vanished completely. Maybe they didn't all vanish, Miller said quietly. Maybe some of them left guardians behind, watchers to make sure whatever happened back then didn't happen again. White looked nervously at the derelict. If you're right, Captain, what woke it up? Why now? Before Miller could answer, the ship's AI chimed in. Captain, I'm detecting increased energy readings from the derelict. Something's happening. They all turned to watch as a faint blue glow began to emanate from deep within the vessel's scarred hull. The geometric patterns they'd noticed earlier seemed to shift and flow, like liquid metal coming to life. Launch Probe 3, Miller ordered. Get me a closer look at those changes. The small probe detached from the Wanderer's hull, its thrusters carrying it smoothly toward the awakening vessel. As it drew closer, its cameras revealed more details. Tiny lights flickering to life in depths that had seemed solid, surfaces rippling like water as ancient systems activated. Energy levels rising, the AI reported. Detecting multiple power signatures, weapons systems charging, defensive screens activating. Miller's hands tightened on the railing. Weapons? Sir, Thompson's voice was tense. The probe's sensors are picking up something else. Long-range communications, but like nothing we've ever seen. It's sending signals between galaxies. The massive ship had stopped its tumbling motion. Now it hung perfectly still in space, the last pretense of being derelict falling away as more systems came online. Its hull had taken on a subtle metallic sheen, the dull gray replaced by a surface that seemed to bend light around it. Should we retreat to a safer distance? Thompson asked. Miller shook his head slowly. No. If it wanted to harm us, we'd already be dead. I think it was waiting for someone to find it. The question is, why? As if in answer, a beam of light shot from the ancient vessel, scanning the Wanderer from bow to stern. Then a voice filled their bridge, deep, artificial, but somehow warm. Identity confirmed. Human vessel detected. Beginning awakening sequence. Please stand by for important message regarding imminent existential threat to human civilization. Miller, Thompson, and White exchanged looks of shock and worry. Whatever they discovered out here in the empty between the stars, it was clear their routine scout mission had just become something much more important. The ship no one had seen coming was about to change everything they thought they knew about humanity's past and its future. The boarding team stood in the airlock of their small shuttle, doing final checks on their spacesuits. Tom Baker, the team's security officer, made sure everyone's weapons were properly secured. Even though the mysterious ship seemed peaceful, 20 years of space exploration had taught them to always be prepared. Remember, Robert White's voice crackled through their helmet comms as he adjusted his tool belt. We're looking for the main computer core. If this ship is as old as we think, it might still use physical data storage we can access. The engineer's hands were shaking slightly with excitement, but his voice stayed professional. Next to him, Medical Officer Mary Jones checked her scanner one last time. Everyone's suit readings are good. Life support at 100%. If anyone starts feeling odd, anything at all, you tell me right away. We don't know what kind of defense systems this ship might have. The shuttle's docking clamps locked onto the ancient ship's hull with a dull thud that vibrated through their boots. Captain Miller's voice came through their comms from the Wanderer. Team, you have a green light. Stay in constant contact. If anything feels wrong, you get out immediately. That's an order. Baker went first, pushing off through the docking tube into the alien ship's airlock. The others followed one by one, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The airlock was huge, big enough to fit their entire shuttle inside it. Strange symbols covered the walls, half hidden under centuries of dust. "This doesn't look like any human writing I've ever seen," Jones said, running her gloved hand over one of the symbols. As she touched it, a faint blue light pulsed beneath her fingers. "Wait, did you see that?" Before anyone could answer, a deep hum vibrated through the deck plates. Red emergency lights flickered to life along the corridors, casting long shadows. A voice echoed through their comms, the same artificial voice that had scanned their ship earlier. "Biological entities detected. Beginning atmospheric restoration." White checked his instruments. "The ship is repressurizing. It's creating a breathable atmosphere from scratch. The technology to do that in minutes instead of hours is centuries beyond us." They watched in amazement as frost patterns formed and disappeared on the walls as the environmental systems came online. Temperature readings quickly rose to human comfortable levels. After 10 minutes, White's instruments showed a perfect Earth-normal atmosphere. "Keep your suits on," Baker reminded them. "We don't know if these readings are accurate." They moved deeper into the ship, walking through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Everything was built on a massive scale, with doorways twice the height they needed to be and halls wide enough for small vehicles. Their footsteps echoed strangely, as if the metal floors were hollow. "Look at these walls," White said, shining his light on the smooth surfaces. "The metal, it's shifting, like it's alive." He was right. Tiny ripples moved through the walls, floor, and ceiling, like waves on a pond. When they touched the surface, it felt warm and slightly soft, despite looking like solid metal. Jones's medical scanner suddenly beeped. "I'm picking up energy patterns similar to human brainwaves, but much more complex. They're coming from everywhere. It's like the whole ship is thinking." They found the first big chamber after 20 minutes of walking. It was a perfect sphere, at least 50 meters across, with what looked like a pilot's chair in the center. But this chair was different from anything they'd seen before. It seemed to float in midair, surrounded by holographic displays that flickered in and out of existence. "This must be some kind of control room," White said, moving toward the chair. "But where are all the controls? The displays?" As if in answer, all the holographic screens suddenly blazed to life, filling the room with light. The symbols they'd seen in the airlock appeared everywhere, scrolling and shifting. The air itself seemed to come alive with data. "Warning," the ship's voice announced. "Unauthorized access detected. Please state your security clearance." Baker raised his weapon instinctively, but Jones put a hand on his arm. "We're human explorers," she called out. "We found your ship drifting in space. We're just trying to understand what you are." There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again. "DNA scan confirms human origin. However, genetic drift indicates approximately 500 years of separation from baseline." "Interesting. You are descendants of the evacuation colonies." White stepped forward. "Evacuation colonies? You mean from the colony wars?" "That term is incorrect," the voice said. "Your historical records are incomplete. What you call the colony wars was actually the first phase of the Extinction War. I am Sciential, a defensive artificial intelligence created to ensure humanity's survival." The floating chair descended slowly to their level. As it moved, the whole room seemed to transform. The walls became transparent, showing them the stars outside. But they weren't just seeing the stars. They were seeing data about each one, overlaid on the view like an incredibly advanced navigation system. "Your discovery of this vessel was not accidental," Sciential continued. "Long-range sensors detected your civilization, reaching a crucial technological threshold. My primary directive requires me to make contact when humanity reaches this stage of development." "What threshold?" Baker asked, his weapon now lowered but still ready. "What's so special about now? Your species has begun developing quantum communication and basic AI systems. This makes you detectable to the same enemy that nearly destroyed humanity 5 centuries ago. They are already on their way." The room's display changed, showing them a massive fleet of ships moving through the dark space between galaxies. There were thousands of them, each one larger than the biggest human ships ever built. This vessel, Centennial explained, contains technological and military advances that humanity achieved during the final days of the war. Advances that were lost when we were forced to erase all records of that time to hide your surviving colonies from detection. Jones stepped closer to one of the data streams, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. Why hide the records? Why not just give us this technology from the start? Because technology without wisdom leads to destruction. Your colonies needed to develop naturally, to rediscover science at your own pace. Only then could you handle the truth and the power this vessel contains. The room shifted again, and suddenly they were surrounded by images of Earth and other human worlds burning, great ships darkening the skies as cities were destroyed. This is what happened last time. The enemy found us because we announced our presence too soon, used our technology too proudly. We were not ready. White had moved to examine some of the floating data streams. These technical specifications, they're incredible. Ships that can manipulate space-time, weapons that defy physics as we know it. All of this will be provided to your people, Centennial said. But first, you must understand the true nature of the threat. The enemy is not simply another alien race. They are the gardeners of galaxies, beings who believe they have the right to decide which species live and which die. And they have decided humanity's time is over. Baker looked at the images of the approaching fleet. How long do we have? 3 months at their current speed. Enough time to prepare if we begin now. This vessel contains not just weapons, but manufacturing systems that can upgrade your entire fleet. We can give your ships capabilities they were never designed to have. But you must decide quickly. Once we begin, there will be no hiding. The enemy will know we are here. The team looked at each other, the weight of what they'd discovered heavy on their shoulders. They had come looking for a derelict ship and found humanity's last hope for survival. Whatever they decided to do next would change the course of human history forever. Mary Jones touched her radio. Captain Miller, I think you need to hear this. The ship, it's not just a ship. It's everything we lost. Everything we forgot we could be. As if to emphasize her words, the room around them shifted one final time, revealing the true form of the vessel they stood in. Not the scared and drifting hulk they'd seen from outside, but a sleek weapon of war, ready to defend humanity once again. Captain Miller stared at the massive holographic display floating in the Wanderer's Bridge, trying to process everything Centennial had just shown them. The AI had transferred a small part of itself to their ship's computers, filling their databanks with information about humanity's forgotten history and the terrible enemy approaching their space. Let me get this straight, Miller said, running his hand through his graying hair. 500 years ago, humanity was actually more advanced than we are now, and we chose to forget it all. The AI's voice came through their speakers, calm and patient. It was not a choice, but a necessity. The enemy can detect advanced technology across vast distances. By reducing humanity to a pre-space age civilization and scattering the survivors, we gave your species a chance to survive and rebuild. Lisa Thompson studied the tactical displays showing the enemy fleet's approach. Thousands of black ships, each one moving in perfect formation. But why are they coming back now? What changed? Your development of quantum communications technology created ripples in space-time they could detect. Centennial explained. Once a species reaches this level, the gardeners consider them a potential threat. They believe advanced civilizations eventually become competitors for galaxy-scale resources. Robert White was busy analyzing the technical data Centennial had provided, his eyes wide with wonder. These ships they're sending. The smallest one is bigger than our largest space station. How are we supposed to fight something like that? The holographic display shifted, showing them the true capabilities of Centennial's vessel. What had appeared to be battle damage on the hull was actually an incredibly complex system of quantum sensors and weapon ports. The entire ship was built from programmable matter that could reshape itself as needed. My vessel was designed to be a seed, Centennial said. Within it are the templates for upgrading your entire fleet. We can give your ships capabilities they were never meant to have, but we must begin immediately. Mary Jones, who had returned from the boarding team, spoke up. You keep saying we and our. Are there other ships like you out there? No, I am unique, but I contain the combined knowledge and experience of the thousands of scientists and soldiers who created me. In a very real sense, they live on through my memory banks. The display changed again, showing them Earth as it had been 5 centuries ago. Great cities reached into the clouds, ships sailed between the stars, and humanity seemed destined for greatness. Then the gardeners came. The images showed massive black ships appearing above Earth's cities, their weapons reducing centuries of human achievement to ash in minutes. We fought back. Centennial continued, but we were not prepared. The gardeners had done this thousands of times before, to countless other species. They perfect the art of extinction over millions of years. Miller watched as the historical footage showed humanity's desperate counterattack. Ships like Centennials, but smaller and less advanced, fought against the overwhelming enemy forces. How did we survive it all? Because of men and women like yourselves, people who refused to accept extinction as their fate. They created me, poured all their knowledge and technology into my systems, and then scattered across the stars. Some went to hidden colonies. Others used experimental faster-than-light drives to flee to other galaxies. The gardeners thought they had won, but humanity survived. Thompson pointed to a section of the tactical display showing the enemy fleet. These energy readings, they're identical to what we detected from your ship when we first found you. You used the same technology they do. Yes, in our final battles, we managed to capture some of their ships. Their technology was far beyond ours, but we learned to adapt it, improve it. The vessel you found me in represents the peak of human military science, combined with reversed engineered gardener technology. White looked up from his analysis. These weapon systems, they don't just destroy ships, they erase them from existence. They alter the fundamental laws of physics in a localized area. That's terrifying. It was necessary, Centennial replied. The gardeners' ships are virtually indestructible to conventional weapons. Their hulls can absorb or reflect any normal form of energy. Only by changing the rules of reality itself could we harm them. Miller walked closer to the holographic display, studying the approaching fleet's formation. You said we have 3 months. What's our first step? We begin with your ship. The Wanderer will be the first to receive the upgrades. My manufacturing systems can rebuild it from the inside out, giving it capabilities far beyond its original design. Your crew will learn to use these new systems, and then help upgrade the rest of humanity's fleet. The display showed them what the Wanderer would become, a ship that could bend space and time, that could hide from any sensor by existing partially outside normal spacetime, that could fire weapons that treated the laws of physics as mere suggestions. There will be resistance, Centennial warned. Many will not want to believe the threat is real. Others will fear the technology I offer. You must convince them. Every ship, every weapon we can upgrade increases our chances of survival. Jones had been quiet for a while, but now she spoke up. These upgrades, what will they do to our people? To the crews? They will need to adapt. The neural interfaces required to control these systems are beyond anything your people have experienced. It will not be easy, but it is necessary. The alternative is extinction. Miller looked at his crew, seeing the mix of fear and determination on their faces. They had started this day as a simple scout ship crew, and now they were about to become humanity's first line of defense against an ancient enemy. What about you? Miller asked the AI. Why did you wait so long to reveal yourself? Surely there were other chances over the centuries. I had to be certain humanity was ready. Not just technologically, but mentally. Your response to finding me. Careful observation, methodical investigation, and a willingness to face the unknown. Prove you have the maturity to handle what comes next. The bridge fell silent as they all considered the weight of what was coming. Outside the viewports, Annihilated's massive ship had begun to change, its true form emerging from centuries of disguise. The dull, scarred hull was becoming something else, a weapon of war that defied their understanding of what was possible. Your immediate choice, Annihilated said, is simple but critical. Once we begin upgrading your ship, there is no going back. The energy signatures will be detectable. The gardeners will know someone has survived their last attempt at our extinction. They will come more quickly, and they will be ready for resistance this time. Are you prepared to take that step? Miller looked at his crew, saw the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. Humanity had hidden long enough. It was time to remember what they had once been, what they could be again. Begin the upgrade, he ordered. It's time to remind these gardeners why humanity survived the last time they tried to wipe us out. Around them, the Wanderers' systems began to change as Annihilated's nanomachines went to work. History had come full circle, and humanity's greatest battle was about to begin again. The transformation began slowly at first. Tiny silver particles, smaller than dust, flowed through the Wanderers' air vents and into every part of the ship. The crew watched in amazement as these nanomachines began their work, changing their familiar vessel into something entirely new. Try to stay calm. Annihilated's voice guided them as the ship's walls started to ripple and flow like liquid metal. Your ship is not being destroyed. It is evolving. Everything you see is part of the upgrade process. Robert White monitored the changes from his engineering station, which was itself transforming under his hands. The simple control panels were becoming complex holographic displays that responded to his thoughts as much as his touch. The power readings are off the charts. The nanomachines are rebuilding our reactor into something. I don't even have words for it. Lisa Thompson stood at what used to be the weapons station, watching as her familiar controls melted away and reformed into something far more advanced. These new weapon systems, they're not just guns or energy beams. According to these readings, they can literally tear holes in space. The ship's hull was changing color, the plain gray metal taking on a deep, shifting blue that seemed to swallow light. Tiny geometric patterns, similar to the ones they'd seen on Annihilated's vessel, began appearing across the surface. But these weren't just decorations. They were part of an incredibly advanced sensor and defense network. Your ship's new skin can adapt to any attack, Annihilated explained. It learns from each hit, becoming stronger. The patterns you see are quantum-locked defense grids that can redirect energy weapons back at their source. Captain Miller felt the changes in his command chair as new neural interfaces grew into existence, connecting directly with his mind. It was strange but not uncomfortable, like gaining new senses he'd never known he needed. I can feel the ship, not just the controls, but everything. Every system, every particle. Yes, Annihilated confirmed. The neural interface is essential for controlling the advanced systems. Your human reflexes and thought processes are too slow on their own. The interface lets you react at quantum speeds when needed. Mary Jones moved through the ship's corridors, scanning the changes with her medical equipment. The halls themselves were different now, wider with subtle lighting that adjusted to each person's preferences automatically. The ship's environmental systems are changing too. They're not just maintaining air and temperature anymore. They're actively supporting and enhancing our biology. Correct, Annihilated said. The new life support systems can accelerate healing, enhance cognitive function, and protect against the spatial distortions our weapons create. Your bodies will need this support to handle the stresses of advanced combat. In the engine room, the biggest changes were taking place. The Wanderer's simple fusion drive was becoming something else entirely, a power plant that drew energy from multiple dimensions at once. The engine's new core glowed with a light that seemed to come from somewhere beyond normal space. The power system now operates on 17 different dimensional levels. Centennial explained as White tried to understand the readings. It can generate enough energy to tear holes in reality itself. This is necessary for both weapons and faster-than-light travel. Thompson watched as her tactical display showed the ship's new capabilities. The Wanderer could now hide itself by shifting partially out of normal spacetime, becoming virtually invisible to any normal sensors. Its weapons could target enemy ships through higher dimensions, hitting them from angles that shouldn't exist in normal space. "How do we control all this?" she asked, slightly overwhelmed by the complexity. "There's so much happening at once." "The neural interfaces will help," Centennial replied. "But more importantly, the ship itself is now semi-intelligent. It will anticipate your needs and adapt to your fighting style. Think of it as having a new crew member, one made of quantum computers and programmable matter." Miller stood up from his command chair, walking to the viewport that was now more than just a window. It had become a complex sensor display that showed him everything happening around the ship, including things human eyes could never see naturally. "Will all our ships be upgraded like this?" "Each ship will be different," Centennial said. "The Nanomachines adapt to the existing vessel's structure and the crew's natural tendencies. No two upgraded ships will be exactly alike, just as no two human minds are exactly alike. This variety is one of humanity's greatest strengths." The transformation reached its final stages as the hull completed its metamorphosis. The Wanderer was now slightly larger than before, its shape more streamlined and organic. The weapons that had once been simple railguns and missile tubes were now elegant structures that could reshape themselves for different attack patterns. "Look at this," White called out, pointing to a new reading. "The hull isn't just armor anymore. It's a single massive quantum computer. Every part of the ship can think and adapt." "More than that," Jones added, checking her medical scans. "It's starting to sync with our brain patterns. The more we work with it, the better it will understand us, and the better we'll understand it." Centennial's voice held a note of satisfaction. "The transformation is nearly complete. Your ship is now ready to begin combat training. We must prepare quickly. The enemy will detect these power signatures soon." Thompson studied the tactical display, trying to understand their new capabilities. "These weapons, they don't just destroy enemy ships, do they? They erase them from existence. Completely." "Yes," Centennial confirmed. "Against an enemy that can repair almost any damage, conventional weapons are useless. We must remove their ships from reality itself, a process they cannot reverse or regenerate from." Miller returned to his command chair, feeling the neural interfaces connect more strongly. Through them, he could sense every part of his transformed ship, from the quantum-powered engines to the reality-warping weapons. The Wanderer was no longer just a vessel. It had become an extension of its crew, the living weapon built to defend humanity. "Training begins now," Centennial announced as holographic enemy ships appeared around them. "Show me you can handle these new powers. Show me humanity is ready to fight back." The crew took their positions at their transformed stations, each of them connected to the ship and to each other through the new neural network. What had once been a simple scout vessel was now one of the most powerful warships ever created by human hands. The real question was, would it be enough to face what was coming? Outside, Centennial's massive vessel moved into position beside them, ready to begin teaching them how to use their new capabilities. The time for hiding was over. Humanity was about to remember what it meant to be a force in the galaxy, and the gardeners were about to learn that some species refused to be extinct. 3 months of training had changed everything. The human fleet gathered at the edge of their space, 500 ships transformed by Centennial's technology. Each vessel was different, evolved to match its crew's fighting style and thinking patterns. They looked more like living creatures than machines now, their hulls rippling with contained power as they waited for the enemy to arrive. Captain Miller stood on the Wanderer's bridge. connected to his ship through neural interfaces that had become as natural as breathing. Through the advanced sensors, he could see the enemy fleet approaching. 15,000 massive black ships moving in perfect formation, their hulls drinking in the starlight. "They're earlier than expected," Lisa Thompson said from her tactical station. Her hands moved through the holographic controls, making final adjustments to their weapons. "They must have detected our power signatures during the upgrades." "Good," Miller replied, feeling his ship's eagerness for battle through their shared connection. "Let them come. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Sentineel's voice came through their communications network, reaching all the human ships at once. "The enemy fleet will exit faster than light travel in 5 minutes. Remember your training. Their technology is powerful, but they have grown overconfident. They expect to find primitive vessels, not ships that can match their capabilities." Robert White monitored the engine readings from his station. The power core pulsed with energy drawn from multiple dimensions, ready to feed their reality-warping weapons. All ships reporting ready. Power systems at maximum capacity. Through their quantum-linked communications, Miller could sense the other ship captain's determination. 3 months ago, they had been normal spacers flying normal ships. Now they were warriors connected to vessels that could tear holes in space itself. Some had been scared at first, but fear had given way to purpose as they understood what they were fighting for. "Enemy fleet dropping out of FTL," Thompson announced. They're huge." The black ships appeared like a wall of darkness against the stars. The smallest was bigger than Earth's largest space station, the largest nearly the size of a small moon. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them, making them look like holes cut in reality. "They're scanning us," Mary Jones reported from her science station. "Their energy readings just spiked. I think they're surprised by what they're seeing." "Let's surprise them more," Miller said. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Execute on my mark." The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, their ships flowing into complex patterns that existed in multiple dimensions at once. It was a formation impossible for normal vessels, requiring neural links and quantum computers to maintain. The enemy ships actually paused, their perfect formation showing its first signs of uncertainty. Then the Gardeners attacked. Beams of dark energy lanced out from their ships, weapons designed to tear normal matter apart at the atomic level. But the human ships were ready. Their quantum-locked hulls caught the energy and redirected it, sending it spiraling back through higher dimensions to strike the enemy from impossible angles. Miller felt his ship's eagerness through their neural link. "Not happening. Wanderer, battle pattern Omega. All nearby ships, support formation." The Wanderer seemed to come alive, its hull flowing like liquid metal as it reconfigured for complex maneuvers. They dove through a tear in space-time, emerging behind the enemy formation. Their weapons opened up, not beams or projectiles, but targeted distortions that twisted reality itself. 2 of the huge enemy ships simply ceased to exist, their matter converted to exotic particles that consumed their neighbors in chain reactions. Through their quantum communications, Miller could hear other human captains reporting victories. The enemy's perfect formation was breaking down as they faced tactics they'd never encountered before. These Gardeners had spent millions of years fighting conventional battles against conventional enemies. They didn't know how to handle ships that could think and adapt, that could use their own technology in ways they'd never imagined. "Their fleet is splitting up," Thompson reported. "They're trying to regroup, but our dimensional attacks are disrupting their coordination." Sentineel's massive form moved through the battle like a blade, its weapons erasing enemy ships with surgical precision. "Press the advantage," the AI commanded. "They are beginning to understand that they face their own technology. Do not give them time to adapt." The battle shifted into higher dimensions as both sides abandoned normal space for better tactical positions. To anyone watching with normal senses, it would have looked like ships were appearing and disappearing at random, reality itself twisting and warping. But through their neural interfaces, the human crews could see and understand the complex patterns of combat. Enemy losses at 30%. Jones announced. Our losses less than 5%. The quantum healing systems are working. Damaged ships are regenerating faster than they can be destroyed. The gardeners tried to concentrate their forces, gathering their largest ships into a massive formation that could project overwhelming firepower. But that was exactly what the human fleet had trained for. At Miller's command, 30 ships linked their dimensional drives together, creating a distortion field that made normal physics meaningless. The enemy formation disappeared entirely. 1,500 ships erased from existence in a single moment. The remaining Gardner vessels began to retreat, their perfect coordination shattered by weapons they didn't understand being used in ways they'd never imagined. They're running, Thompson said with disbelief. The Gardners are actually running. Through the quantum network, Miller could sense the other captains' mix of triumph and awe. They had done it. They had faced the destroyers of 1,000 civilizations and driven them back. Humanity had not just survived. It had proven itself stronger than its would-be executioners. Do we pursue? White asked, his hands ready at the dimensional drive controls. Sayin Tai-Niel's voice carried a note of satisfaction. No, let them flee. Let them carry word back to their kind that humanity is no longer prey. We are no longer a primitive species to be culled at their convenience. We have taken their own weapons and made them better. The human fleet regrouped, their ships moving together in formations that would have been impossible 3 months ago. Through their neural links, Miller could feel the mix of exhaustion and pride from his crew. They had trained for this moment, but actually achieving it felt almost unreal. What happens now? Thompson asked, looking at the tactical display where the enemy ships were disappearing into faster-than-light travel. Now, Centennial replied, humanity takes its place among the stars again. Not hiding, not running, but standing proud. The Gardeners will return eventually, but they will find us stronger each time. You have proven worthy of the legacy left to you by your ancestors. Miller looked out at his transformed fleet, each ship now a testament to what humanity could achieve. They had faced extinction and turned it into evolution instead. Whatever came next, they would face it together, with technology that could reshape reality and the wisdom to use it well. Send word to Earth, he ordered. Tell them humanity just remembered what it means to be unstoppable.